Hello, friends, and good evening. As you can see, we're in an unusual setting here. I'll explain in a moment. Stephen Manning here from Integrity Ireland, S.O.S, Truth Matters. S.O.S is supposed to stand for Stephen on Sunday, Sense on Sunday. My apologies, guys, and my apologies also if you hear a bit of background traffic noise. My son Danny and myself are on the move. This will be a very short partial presentation because, as I said, we're on the move. We're taking a trip. It's Danny's birthday on Christmas Day, and we intend to spend it with some friends in a faraway place, okay? And we're enjoying the drive, or I say we're enjoying the drive, making the most of it, making a bit of an adventure out of it. So as you can see, the title today, Us versus Them in a Holy War. But who are they or them? And how can we tell? Plus, is the law good, or is it now something else? Now, the only way I can do this, guys, and my apologies again for the delay. I can see a few people have come on board, pleasantly surprised. I'm just going to pop this first slide up just quickly, guys. Now, if you can see here, see what's this? Well, this is a slide that I took on the move. I pulled over, as you can see, to the right-hand side there. This is the chaos that's being caused in France. Now, the first question, I'm going to give you a couple of facts here, guys. Now, I just want to prove this. It's a bit hard to make out, but that big black pile center right, that's tires and manure that have been dumped all across the French péage in various locations down the south of France. Now, I don't know about the rest of the country. My French is, adequate, but it's a bit difficult to keep up with the news. But I did have a quick check to see how much coverage this was. But apparently there's no coverage at all. Now, this is astonishing, really, because this tactic, which mirrors what was happening in London a couple of weeks ago, where they drove tractors into Whitehall and literally, and a couple of out-of-service tanks along with them, and the police were in a panic there. You can't batten a tractor or a tank, and they were at a loss what to do, because in the UK, the problem is that Keir Starmer, in all of his wisdom, of which clearly he has very little, he's just a bully. He's an ex-lawyer. Being a lawyer is a problem in the first place. Remember, I keep telling you guys, highest percentage of sociopaths and psychopaths are the CEOs of international corporations. And second to that is the legal profession, where we get all our judges and lawyers from. It's not to say they're all bad. Some of them are good, but they're operating within a system that has been constructed to facilitate sociopaths and sociopathic behavior. So the worse your character and personality is, provided you have sufficient intelligence, that's the sort of go-to profession. Hello, Carol Grace, nice to see you. So the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that in England, what the English government have decided to do is they've looked at farmers. And on paper, farmers are worth a lot of money because they have land. But what Starmer and his cronies have decided to do is to place an inheritance tax. And I think, I don't want to get it wrong here now, guys, but it's a substantial amount, a $250,000 maybe, or something like that. Whatever it might be, it's a substantial amount on a farm. Let's say the farm is worth 5 or 6 million. When a farmer passes away, they're now going to have to, let's say the son or the daughter inherits the farm, they're going to have to pay an inheritance tax, which would bankrupt them, literally. And you say, well, how come if the farm is worth so much? Well, the farm is only worth so much on paper because they're only generating something like 30 or 40,000 pounds a year in revenue, which is a modest income. Certainly by political standards it is. So it's less than a third of what most of our politicians earn, and judges and the like. We'll have a look at that later, perhaps, if we have time. But it's a very effective tactic. You're using large vehicles. They gathered in Whitehall. They basically stopped the traffic, and the government was at a loss what to do, except to threaten that anybody involved in it would go to jail. Of course, you're all going to, yeah, let's threaten and intimidate because it's all they've got. They're autocratic, diabolical institutions by and large. That's how they operate. Okay. Always watch out for the great lie, watch out for the abuse of power, watch out for greed and for secrecy and obfuscation and all the sort of things that we've gotten so used to in Ireland, the way the system operates. So anyway, so back to France. We've driven through different countries. We're in Italy at the moment. We went through France. But one of the reasons I couldn't get this video out earlier was every time I intended to do it, we were being rerouted. And our poor sat-nav, the nice lady on the, well, what do you call it, Google Maps, whatever, that nice lady in there, no matter how much I screamed and shouted at her, that the bloody road is blocked with horse poop and tires and bales of hay, she'd keep on saying, please do U-turn and go back to the péage, the motorway. But the French have been quite efficient at rerouting us, to get us back onto the motorway. But of course, it just added a lot of time and distance to the journeys. But again, the point I'm making is, how much coverage have you seen of this? You won't see much on mainstream media because it is a hugely effective tactic. They're not only denying the government the tolls from the French motorways, but they're creating such an inconvenience to most traffic users. And I say in this case, it's whilst, of course, as a driver, you go, oh my God, this was a nuisance. I actually thought I wanted to get out and applaud them and say, well done, well done, mes amis. At last somebody's taking action, to try and put these, what I call the diabolicals, most of the politicals and so on, in their place. Hello, Nobby. Great, what was it? Bolognese you gave us there on the way out. Yeah. And hello again, Jerry. Yeah. So before we start anyway, and it will be very short today because we were meeting somebody literally in about 15 minutes. So when I get the call, I'll have to say good night for now, but I'll pick this up straight away wherever I leave off, and we'll just place them up on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble, and then do TikToks of the shorter versions of them and put them out there as well, okay, as soon as possible. So let's go back to the title then. Us versus them in a holy war. Let's pull it up a little bit bigger. And I'm going to start with this clip by Russell Brand, who most of you know. I have a lot of time for Russell. I think he's sincere, a convert to Christianity, and a wayward man in his youth, so to speak, but very much centered, very well informed, not scared to take on the diabolicals and to expose them. And as a consequence, they're coming after him the way they do. This is what he had to say. Please listen for a moment. It's only a short clip. I think it's quite poignant.
No, that you're in a holy war. You're on the wrong side in the holy war. This is an important time for urgent and immediate awakening. And the Epstein file and the confusion and the contradiction, we're going to release it, no, we're not going to release it, is the beginning of a kind of implosion of power. I imagine is going to lead to radical reevaluation. Either that reevaluation will be the assertion of centralized power in a way that we've never seen before, or something approaching a return to what we were designed for. We are in.
Okay, so let's take Russell back down here, guys, and put our clip back up again. Yeah. So as you said, I mean, he's got a lot of insights that I think are worth listening to. So I personally hope and pray that as these files are released, that it doesn't turn out that Trump has done something categorically wicked or evil. We all know what we're talking about here, because it would be an awful shame for us to lose confidence in a man who, despite his faults and failings, the obvious ones, and his manners and means and everything, as I've said from day one, when he was elected this second time, after the attempted assassination attempt, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, and he is not a part of the the system, the political establishment, and he is a system wrecker, which is all to the good. And I mean, I'd argue that if the Messiah were here again, if Jesus were around today, I'm not saying he'd look or act like Trump exactly, but this is exactly what he'd be advocating. We've got to break these diabolical systems that have us all trapped. Now, the other bit of, I haven't covered it with slides, guys, but the other bit of in the Bondi shootings in Australia. The materials we're going to cover in this presentation, which may stretch over 2 or 3 different days, guys, will cover that and explain how and why people get into this mindset where they think it's okay to go off and just murder other people because of their race, religion, creed, or whatever it might be. How it's happening, and are they the them I'm talking about? Us versus them in a holy war. As Russell Brand says, if you don't know that you're in a holy war, you're probably on the wrong side. And this is what it's all about, guys. It's all about education. It's about waking people up. It's about trying to shake the apathetic masses into activity, hopefully for the good side. So let's see now. Again, some of the slides will come as a surprise to me. I've literally only got about 5 minutes before we go. So we just listen to Russell. So yeah, we'll focus on this one today because often I skip over it. I tell people to freeze and have a look at it, examine it, try and understand what's being said here. But very simply, there's the question on the right. Where am I on this scale? Where am I now? Where am I in life? What's my destination? And the point I'm trying to make is that what I've done is I've broken down human characteristics, if you like, into 3 central groups. Now, obviously, this isn't absolute, but it helps to explain human characteristics, personalities, okay? So on the left, we have empaths. That's in the blue section, okay? And empaths, very simply, are people who care about other people. They have that sensitive spot, okay? On the opposite side, you have sociopaths and psychopaths. And again, putting it very simply, this means people who do not care about other people, other than seeing them as a means to profit or to exploit or to something like that. It's not genuine humane values, in other words. It's all to do with money and power and so on, right? And then in the middle, there's this group that I'm calling the apaths, or the apathetic masses, the people who just shrug their shoulders and say, sure, what can you do? I'm just following orders, just doing my job, that sort of thing. Some people are so damaged by their experiences in life that they've given up the ghost, so to speak. All right. But there's a sliding scale here as well, guys. From the bottom are the lowest educated and least aware people, right? Intellectually aware of what's going on. And at the top are the best, and I use the term education, not necessarily means schooled, all right? Not the best schooled people, but the wisest people, the ones who really understand how the world works, all right? Both good and evil, okay? And those people, as you can see, are at the top end of the scale, all right? Now, again, it'd be an interesting exercise to freeze this when it's large like this, freeze it, study it, have a think about it. The guys at Bondi Beach, for example, clearly psychopaths. You can't go out and murder 15 people and injure another 40 odd with weapons, with high-powered weapons, and not be intrinsically evil. These are classic psychopaths. Now, they may not be the cleverest of psychopaths to go out onto a crowded beach with guns, because obviously they're going to get caught or they're going to get killed, one or the other. But as you can see over the sliding scale there, bottom right, liars, bullies, abusers, and violent criminals. They're the ones that get caught. Up on the clever end of the scale are the CEOs of international corporations, the lawyers, and so on, the politicians, and so on and so forth. Not too far down that scale, believe it or not, civil servants and other occupations. Now, this has all been done in scientific studies, and on the opposite end of the scale, you would be dealing with carers, would be the empathetic side, carers, caregivers, nurses, kindergarten, and kids' school teachers, things like that. They're all grouped over, and there's an almost direct balance. The lowest paid workers in our society tend to be the empaths. No matter how skilled they might be, they tend to be empaths. The highest paid workers tend to be psychopaths, and sociopaths are over on that end of the scale. All right. So with that, guys, and again, a few people there. Hello, Paula. How are you? Yeah, she mentions what are those voting on abortion up till birth? Yeah, people. Well, clearly, do you care about people? You know, and if the argument when it comes to abortion, if the argument comes between an unborn child and a selfish woman who may have gotten pregnant, through willful sexual activity or carelessness or just, you know, no, there's a duty. Obviously, who's the most vulnerable out of those two? The infant or the woman who has made an active choice to engage in sexuality? In most cases, I know there's exceptions to the rule. Well, obviously, we have a duty to the most vulnerable, and an unborn child is about as vulnerable as you can get. So people who vote for that to have abortion up until birth, I would say categorically fit into this sociopathic and psychopathic mindset. It's selfish. It's all about convenience. Human life means nothing, which is another mark of the diabolicals. They're not interested in human life. They're not interested in the value of human life. They're interested in the cost of it and how much they can make out of it, and so on and so forth. Okay, I hope that addresses your question there, Paula. Now, looking at the time, any minute now, I'm about to get a call, and we'll have to leave it here just for today. Super fast, I know, guys, but I'll follow up with parts 2, 3, and possibly even 4. There's about a total of about 40 slides, and I'll do my best to get them done each evening, even if it's only like this for about 15 or 20 minutes at a time. So I'll say God bless for now, guys, and hopefully talk to you again tomorrow from another distant land en route to our friend's house. God bless, guys. Thank you for listening. Please look at the slides and keep sending the kind messages of support. God bless, guys. Where's my thumb? There it is. God bless.